I don't know what was going on there. Let's hook this up. I'm sure it was already a strength thing. Welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursday. I'm your host Jason Zalakis, running a little behind this morning, and here we are, 11:03. Man, you're fired. Welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. As I said, I'm your host Jason Zalakis. Great show for you this week. I'm really excited. We don't know if our guest can get on this week or not. We just already don't know that. So right off the bat, we're going to find out. Anyway, let's set up. Like I said, let's have a sip. First thing I wanted to tell you this week on Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. This is our 1 year anniversary of Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. We started this show a year ago today. As a matter of fact, today, a Thursday. And back then, the show wasn't on a Thursday. A year ago, the show, I believe we filmed it on a Monday. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. But how the show started was that I'm in a movie or was cast. I've been cast in a film. I'm not in the film yet, but I've been cast in a movie called Coffee Breaks. And that movie, they asked me to do a promotion. And excuse me just a moment. That's not clean. That's gross. Get rid of that. Thank you. Live filming here, yo. Anyway, back on Coffee Breaks Thursdays. This could be a blooper reel. Speaking of a blooper reel, I just released one. I just released a blooper reel, and so if you want to see what I do, if you want to see the commercials I make these days, the commercials they have me making look like I'm filming them myself, but we have a crew and we do the whole thing. We have lighting and the whole bit set up, and it's made to look like a place, a house, but it isn't. Well, I mean, it's a house, but it's fake. It's to look like it's somebody lives there, and so we do it like that. And I put a couple bloopers out there for you to check out. So go ahead and check that out. Anyway, and you can find that by looking at me personally, Jason Zalakis. If you go and look at my own page, you can find all the great stuff I put on there. So give it a Google, and if you see me wearing a red shirt and tie, that's the real Jason Zalakis. And I have to say that's the real Jason Zalakis because there are people out there pretending to be me, which is a strange thing. I never thought anyone would want to be me. So for people out there going, hey, yo, on a dating app, I've heard it all. They're using me. They're using my images everywhere. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today for Coffee Breaks Thursdays, and I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. I think I'm finally settling in this morning. I know I need to come in. I know 5 minutes before the show. 5 minutes before the show. And you said, yeah, I got it. Anyway, here we go. The 1 year anniversary of Coffee Breaks Thursdays. I'm really excited about the 1 year anniversary of Coffee Breaks Thursdays because obviously we've been doing it for a year. But more than that, we've brought you so many great guests. I mean, how the show started was, like I was telling you, I got cast in a movie called Coffee Breaks, and they said, Jason, you're the star of the film. We'd like you to be on a show where the director interviews you and you, talk about your experience, and we'll use it to promote the movie. And what ended up happening was I sort of ended up interviewing the director, and they... of course, we got a plane going overhead. Gorgeous Los Angeles morning, honestly. Wonderful Los Angeles morning today. We've had some bizarre weather here, but it's we're gonna get our guest to our guest. I can see she's waiting, and I know Warren was having trouble bringing our guest on earlier, but we are going to be able to bring our guest on. So I'm so excited this is going to happen. But let me get to the point here. Anyway, beautiful Los Angeles morning. The point is that the show started a year ago today because they wanted me to interview for this movie and to promote this movie, and it ended up that I was the interviewer. And then they said, wow, you're sort of like this really good at interviewing. And they said, would you keep doing it? And I said, well, sure, I'll just keep doing it, right? And then they said, well, if you don't want to do it, we'll get somebody else. I was like, no. All right. They tried it with somebody else. It didn't quite work. So they said, come on, would you come back and do it? And so I said, of course I'll do it. And then it took on a mind of its own. We stopped doing people from the movie. We interviewed the entire cast. Everyone who wanted to be on the show got on the show, and we interviewed the entire cast. Shout out to everybody in the Coffee Breaks movie. Shout out to everyone who's made this happen. because like I said, this is our year anniversary. This is our 1 year show. Our guest today is so badass. I'm very excited to have our guest on. I can't even tell you how excited I am. Like really, really stoked. And when I talk about badass, I mean it. Let's move on a little bit though. Shout out to all the guests. Shout out to the people who watch every week. Thank you. If you want to watch every week, if you haven't seen all our episodes, if you want to see some of the best episodes, check them out. We have the Daniel Roebuck episode, Tyler Donovan episode, James Troop. We have, all of a sudden my mind went blank, Nancy Nazari. We've had so many great guests, Jackie Dallas, like wonderful working people. And that's what the show's about, is working actors. So if you want to see all those, Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis on Facebook, just scroll down the page. You'll see it. We're there every episode. We're there. Check it out. You'll find it. Lots of great stuff. It's not all like you think. Some of it's wacky, some of it's wild. On one of our episodes, Pete Gerard told us that he had cancer and was dying, and it was pretty amazing. Like, the stuff that's happened on this show in a year is unbelievable. We had Rich Sheldon play live music for us, like stuff that he'd never been performed before, or had never had performed. And so, very, very exciting stuff we've had on the show. Let's talk a little bit about my week. I don't want to talk too much because we have Helene Udy coming on, and I'm very excited about that. And I hope I'm saying her last name right. I've only ever read it. I've never been fortunate enough to talk to her, so I hope I'm saying her last name right. But we have her coming up. Before, I want to tell you a couple things that happened. Of course, I had, I did auditions this week, like every week, and they went pretty well. I think I'm turning in some really good stuff, and that's all I can do, because I heard some numbers that were pretty frightening when it comes to auditions. For one lead role, it was 692 submissions. And then it was, they narrowed that down to 280 requests for self-tapes. And of that, they got back like 179 tapes. Of 179 tapes, 19 people went to the director. 19. And out of that, one person got the job. So out of 700 submissions, one person gets the job. That's what I'm up against. So when I audition and I don't get it, I ain't too worried. 700 people, it's hard to land something out of 700 people. It'll be my time. So anyway, moving on, let's talk. So I did a commercial this week, and I did this great commercial for MyFitFoods. If you want to see the blooper reel, check it out at Jason Zalakis. Let's get to Handsome History. Have a sip of coffee before we do. Trevor mentioned he was shocked that people who got the self-tape requests never sent them in. Me too. I wonder about that. You're lucky enough to get the self-tape and you don't get it, and you don't submit. I know, it's a wild world we live in, and I think to myself, anyone can claim to be an actor, but not, that's the only job in the world where you can claim to be something and just claim it. And it doesn't mean you are that. And, you can be like, well, I'm a model. Well, I guess you took some pictures. You might be a model, I guess, right? You can claim it, but you can't just walk in and go, yo, I'm a doctor. So it trips me out who doesn't respond to the audition. But moving right along, Handsome History. Our guest this week is a badass female, and I'm excited to bring her on. So I was inspired this week to start with a badass female. Terminator 2. In fact, Terminator, I'm sorry, not T2. Let me back up a step. Terminator. A badass female, we all know Sarah Connor. But what we don't all know is that movie was shot expecting to not be a hit. They expected it to flop. So most of that movie is shot guerrilla style without permits. And then what they would do is film it and then run away when the cops would come. Just like we do independent movies. So you guys, when I read that, I thought to myself, man, that's pretty wild. That just like we do in independent movies, we're shooting guerrilla style, I call it. They call it the same thing. It's guerrilla filming, man. When you don't have a permit and you just shoot and run. So shout out to Terminator for setting the bar on guerrilla filming. If your movie is not that fly, you got something to work on. Moving next, speaking of badass females in Handsome History. Well, it's more of, I guess this isn't so much about badass females, but this one's in ancient Greece. We're going back to ancient Greece. And then we're bringing on our wonderful guest, I promise, right away. In ancient Greece, skirts were considered manly. And if you wore trousers, the other men would make fun of you. Which shocked me, because I thought Dude, they were making fun of people back in ancient Greece. I thought we were doing that. They're probably like, yo, your mama wears trousers, dude. So they probably didn't say dude, though. I mean, maybe they did, right? I didn't think they were capping on each other, but clearly they were. And so shout out to them. And then finally, our badass female tonight. Today, what are you talking about tonight? What planet am I even on? It's Coffee Breaks Thursdays. We're having a break at 11 a.m. I'm talking about tonight. The most badass pirate in all history was a female. And her name, I wrote it down. I didn't want to mess it up. Well, I'm sure I'm going to mess it up. But it's Ching Shi. She was the most badass female in pirate. And in fact, she was the most successful pirate in all of history. She had 40, it's estimated, 40 to 80,000 men under her control. People, children, women, children, everybody under her control. And she had like 300 ships. And the truth is that she was a prostitute and her husband bought her and treated her like an equal. And when he treated her like an equal, she became co-partners of the ship. And when he died, she took over. And that's handsome history. Now to get to our guest, another badass female. I can't wait to talk about it. This is a groundbreaking woman, you guys. She has done things other people can't do. I'm excited to talk about it. We're getting right to it. Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zalakis. We're going to try to do this. Let's hope it pays off. And you guys know I'm Jason Zalakis. Happy 1 year anniversary. Shout out to producer Warren Madden, who does this week after week and brings us these amazing guests. Hello.
Hi.
We can see you. We can hear you.
Oh, you can see. Okay. Good.
Yes.
Good. Okay. This is. I'm trying to get the right angle, but you know, this is what it is.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for the great introduction. That's a lot to live up to, boy.
Well, you're welcome, but I mean it. When I was reading your bio, I mean it was even more than I already knew. Let's start with groundbreaking. Obviously, we'll just keep going with that theme. You're the first female Ferengi to appear on screen.
Yes, I am. Oh, there's a strange noise. Can you hear me okay?
I can. It's a little bit something. I don't know if it's my end or your end. I'm sure the audience will tell us.
Is this better? I might have to hold this. Is this better?
It is better, but I don't want you to hold it for 40 minutes or whatever.
Don't worry about it. I'm a badass female. I can handle it.
It's true. It's true. So and we're gonna get to how badass you are. I'm really excited about that. And I use this mug in your honor.
Chic.
You know why, and no, the audience does not perhaps yet, but we're gonna tell them. We're gonna tell them. So okay, so talk about being the first female, like in such an important series, Deep Space Nine, or it's important to obviously Star Trek fans. I mean, it's not important to me personally, but no, I'm kidding. But like, talk about being how important is that?
Well, I mean, like a lot of people care about it. You know, there's a lot of lines on my resume, but there's a few that people really care about, and that's one of them. It wasn't an amazing experience. One of the producers directed that show. And it was the show, unfortunately, that character was actually supposed to go on. It was a really big part. But I discovered that I had claustrophobia on playing that character because the headpiece is like a foot in front and a foot in back. And they work very long hours traditionally. So after about hour 12, I literally lost my mind. And they had to call my boyfriend in at the time to hold my hand to get me through the rest of the scenes. It got better, but it totally, you know, after I appeared on that show, they started putting in the castings, make sure that your actors aren't claustrophobic. I had no idea to what degree I was claustrophobic. You know, that's a phobia. Like I was at phobia level of claustrophobia. So it's really unfortunate because it was such a great little part and wonderful cast, and it was so fun to do. And you know, for me, there's always like a magical thing that happens when you're auditioning. You're an actor, so you'll know. But there's some parts you may not even get the part, but you remember the audition, like you remember the character you created, you know, and you're like, damn, I really wanted that character to live. I loved it so much, you know? So unfortunately for me, that was one of the parts where I loved the character as I was auditioning for it and got the part. So it was lucky that way because I've had a few experiences where, I'm a pretty hardcore auditioner, so my choices are always really strong ones, and I'm almost certain that people have an opinion. It might not be a good one though. They may think it's too much, but fortunately it works sometimes. So I got lucky there.
I,
Yeah.
I've never heard an actor tell me that they were claustrophobic from the makeup, because it's one of my fears that one day I'll have to do a cast of my head,
Yeah.
and I'm like panic attacked even just thinking about it.
Yeah. You know what? I did do a cast for my head for My Bloody Valentine, but the special effects guys were so smart. Like they knew they were dealing with people. So they had music playing and they were regaling me with stories, and they just made it really fun and kind of distracted me from what was going on um, at the time. So yeah.
So when you're
So
filming, and obviously, My Bloody Valentine is perhaps what you're best known for.
yeah.
Okay,
Well, I mean, I would think that what I was best known for was Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, but the fans aren't as loud.
okay, right. For certain, my mother knows you from Dr. Quinn, but I
Right,
know
right,
you from
right, right.
My Bloody Valentine. So,
Right, exactly, exactly.
because I was there when Dr. Quinn was on, but it wasn't a show that I was into.
No, I know, yeah.
But I did talk about the fact that the pirate was a prostitute in
Yeah,
in honor, in fact, of your character from Dr. Quinn.
yeah.
So we'll come back. Let's before we go to Dr. Quinn, because obviously you have your resume is like ridiculous. So
Oh, well,
you
thank you.
you're one of the few people we have on the show who's been doing it their whole life. Usually this show's
Yeah.
about somebody like me who's had a midlife crisis and chose to do acting.
Oh,
Right?
fantastic.
Chose to take the dive instead of improve their life. But when you're shooting My Bloody Valentine and
Yeah.
you're in these tunnels and everything, you're not having claustrophobia, or is that fake? Like, because this is 1981.
Well, I was 16 when I did that, and I think as you get older, your phobias get greater because there's more that contributes to them. More you have more, it's just like a festering wound. It gets worse or it gets better. In my case, it got worse. But in My Bloody Valentine, I did not I did not go down in the mine a lot. I didn't because I was dead before they went down in that mine. My character was dead before they went down in that mine. So I never actually shot in the mine. The closest
Oh,
I got to the
okay.
mine was the closet, was the which is above ground. I mean, that's a real miner's closet that we shot in, and it's above ground. So I imagine that I it would have been, but I was with people, so that would have made it a little different with friends. But anyway, I can't surmise because I didn't actually go down there, but I know that it was spooky, and I regret not being one of the only actors that didn't go down there, because everybody's always asking me, and I'm like, I didn't go. I
Well,
don't
but
know.
but even as you didn't go, even as like to watch the other filming or any of that, like,
Weren't allowed to. Very
oh,
few people were allowed to go. You had to stay out of the way. It was a dangerous situation, but you know how we are when we're doing indie films. We're like, we can do it. It's going to be so real. We got to do it. The funny thing, I don't know if you know about this, but this is not my story to tell, but I'm going to tell it anyway. And that is that the mine was a very real mine. It was perfect. It had just recently closed, and it was fabulous. It had every mysterious nook and cranny that was needed. So they made the deal with the company. And then when they came back, this company was so enthusiastic about us being there that they cleaned the mine up and painted it. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, so we actually, I think we delayed production certainly for at least a day. We had to go back down there. The company had to go back down there and like try to get into some semblance of old mine, which is what we wanted. So anyway, that's a story. Yeah.
That is quite the story. Like in indie
Yeah.
filmmaking is
Yeah.
just that, right? You're there
Yeah.
one day, the next day, I've heard the opposite, right? You get there and the weather, it just happens to be the exact perfect for your shoot.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
so
That's
when
lucky.
you're, yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's usually the other way around. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so okay, so in 1981, you're filming this, and do you know? I like to ask this question, but do you know at the time you're making something that could potentially? Because by then we've seen Halloween, we've seen Friday 13th. Do you know this is along that vein? Are you ready for that?
Me personally, I was just involved in the wonderful set atmosphere and the excitement of creating a great movie. We, as actors, were all dedicated to being truthful and honest. You know, we're like, I was a teenager, everybody else was in their early 20s. So we had stars in our eyes about, we weren't thinking of it as a horror movie, even. We were just thinking about it as a story that we all wanted to do justice to. And we were being very thespian about it. I don't think that I ever thought outside of the work, like, oh, could this, make me a movie star? I don't think I ever attacked my work that way. But I also like had a weird expectation in the sense that for some reason, the first couple of movies I did, they got played in the theater. And so I just thought, you do a movie, it gets played in the theater. You do a movie, it gets played in the theater. You know what I mean? Like I just thought, oh, that's the job that I have. Little did I know that it was a series of wonderful pieces of luck, and that eventually that luck would be a little less, would be a little normalized, would be a little more well balanced. Not every movie that you do makes it to the theater. Um, so I had a weird expectation that was actually probably unreasonable. So for it to do well, uh, was part of my naive expectation. It was rather the opposite when things didn't do well. Then I was like, what?
Right. So I want to move on, but forgive me. You're supposed to drink when the guest is talking, not while you're talking.
No, that's all
So
right. Don't
anyway,
worry about it.
no, no. So um, okay, so I've never asked an actor who was in the original. What do you like? So the remake gets made. Do they ask you? Are you in a cameo? Like, how does that work? Are you
No, no, they did not involve us at all. They did not involve us at all. I had no idea until it was out. And in fact,
really?
I have yet to see it, and I keep saying I'm going to go see that movie, but I I still haven't seen it, so I have no idea what I think of it. It's just that I don't know. I know the story. I'm not that motivated to go see it.
Right.
Just as a moviegoer, like I know that story so well. It's like revisiting Midsummer Night's Dream. It's like that play.
Right. I think I felt obligated to see it. I think I was like, well, I gotta sort of watch and support. But yeah, right. I
I'm
feel you.
not.
There's
I'm not very good with obligations and things that you're supposed to do. I'm like terrible with that stuff. In fact, probably one of the reasons I didn't see it is because, like, I don't know. Subconsciously, I'm a rebel.
right. Do you watch your own work?
Rarely. I rarely watch my own work, and the reason is that I'm going to be incredibly critical, and I'm going to see things I hate, and it's going to change. Like when I was on Dr. Quinn, which was a series, and I was on it for several years, I never watched it because I was afraid that I would watch it and that it would that it would affect my performance, and I couldn't afford that. So I never ever watched it. Now I watch it and I go, oh my God, I was on this incredible TV show. I can't believe it. That's me. Like I get excited like a fan.
Right. And that's I guess
um,
that's how I would be being in like a cult movie or being in something like that. I'd be like, man,
right.
I like did something. Right.
There's some weird disconnect. There's some weird disconnect. It's too big for your brain to get the whole thing. So you end up being a fan. I'm a big fan of the original My Bloody Valentine. For sure I am. I love that movie. And I can say that I love it objectively. There's probably a lot of subjectivity in that answer, but I think it's objective. Um, I just think it's a great movie. It was a very, I know I feel like I know the inner mind of the director, and he was extremely purposeful. And now that I'm old enough to see what he was up to, I give him a lot of credit for that movie. Yeah.
I definitely think it's one of it hung on for a reason. They remade it for a reason. I mean,
Right.
it is so great, and considering it didn't have 19 My Bloody Valentines, like the other guys had to have.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about the picture, and the
Yeah,
quality
I
of it.
find it interesting that they didn't. We keep wondering why they didn't. And of course, there's the new fan film, My Bloody Valentine. It's called Valentine's Bluff, and then there's a board game that's coming out now, and that is from the original producer's son, John Dunning's son. I think Greg Dunning. I think with George Mahalka, I think the director's also involved in it, or at least he's promoting it. But there's a My Bloody Valentine board game that they're now trying to put together, which I think that's a wonderful idea. That's
I,
fun.
yeah, I was going to mention that's coming out. When do you do the convention circuit? Do you go and meet the fans?
I would love to. Would somebody please ask me to do the convention circuit? I never get asked. I never get asked. So no, I don't do it.
You're
Yeah.
joking.
No,
You've
I never
never done the. Oh my God, really?
I mean, I've done a couple of conventions with the other cast. Like the only time I do a convention is if I'm with the full cast and we all get invited. And then it's Old Home Week and it's great. And I've done maybe three of those over the period of the, since the
Really?
run of the movie.
And
Yeah.
and do you at those cons? Then did you sign pictures? Like, did you sign?
Oh, yeah, we did. We did. Sure. Yeah, we all signed pictures. We sat in a row. It was really fun. It was like it was just fun. And yeah, we signed pictures and stuff. But we've been invited to four over the past 20 years. So
I find
interesting,
that
right?
remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but it's what it is.
I mean, because we have guests on the show who do the con circuit for they were in a movie that is known specifically horror fans because horror fans are nutty for merchandise.
Yes.
So
No,
so
horror fans are the best.
you're not you would love to sit at a convention and sign those board games. I would because to me that signed
Sure.
board game would be like amazing,
Wouldn't that be? Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That'd be so fun. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so back. Let me reverse this a moment. Do you watch things that you auditioned for and didn't get?
No, because I forget. I forget. I don't retain the information.
After
No,
the
I don't
audition,
do
it's
that.
just
Because the reason I wouldn't ever suggest anybody to do that because the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to other people. You're a unique individual, and whoever they cast obviously had wonderful qualities, but I mean, I have often been cast because I look like the director's wife, and it's not conscious. But then I meet his wife on set, and I go, "Wow, no wonder we all have pointy little noses." The director's wife has pointy little noses. He finds that kind of, fairy face. I remember doing a movie, and I felt that we all, in some way, looked like the director's wife. So you can't. I know better than to compare myself to other people or it's fun. It's interesting. This did just cross my mind a while back, and that is that when I was a kid and Olivia Dabo was a kid, she and I would always be, it would be between me and Olivia Dabo would always get it. Oh, and she had a great figure. She had a really great figure also. She's adorable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Olivia Dabo, but she would always get it. So, um, but if I was to, it's not something I can change about myself. So you have to just, as an actor, you have to maintain this ridiculous hope,
Oh,
right?
you're not
It's
kidding.
ridiculous. Huh?
You're not kidding. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to sort of be bulletproof.
You
Forget
just
that
have to
you're.
believe that the impossible is going to occur, right? Because every time you get a job, as you illustrated, it's an act of impossibility. What are the chances? I don't even buy lotto tickets, you know?
Right. You're right. So I should base my career off a lotto ticket, which is essentially what being an actor is, right?
Right.
Yeah, you just
Exactly.
talked me out of it. I got to tell you that.
No,
Uh,
don't do that. You can't think about the odds. You can't think about the odds. You have to think about your self manifestation, your reason for being here, and whatever, your drive, your passion, whatever. If you're an actor, you're crazy.
Oh,
You're
no doubt.
crazy because you're pursuing an impossible dream, but you have no choice.
You know,
If you have a
Hans.
choice, you're going to go do something else.
Well, yeah, you know what? You're not kidding. Is you're really drawn to? You give me so many great things right there. You know, you're really drawn to it, though. I think is for me personally. One day it just happened where I was like, oh my god, I have to do this the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like I can't. I don't care what it takes. I have to do this.
right,
Uh,
right, right.
you know, I always figure when you said how you look like the director's wife, so it got you the role. You know, I always
Yeah.
figure I look like the grandson who doesn't call, which is why they didn't give me the role. You know.
Ah, well,
So
there's so many things that go into it. You can't worry, right? You can't worry
I
about it.
I think right. What you're saying
Even
is
George Clooney didn't was unbelievable. He was like a curse to pilots. Because he had a great start because he had famous parents, so he was with the right agent and he got all the shots, and then people loved him and they kept casting him in pilot after pilot after pilot. I mean, he must have done I don't know the exact number, but a good many pilots, like maybe 11 or 12 over a period of years and years and years before one of them actually hit. I
was
mean,
it that was ER, right?
that was ER, but he
Yeah.
had done so many pilots beforehand. And the reality is unlike you and me, he had very famous parents, so he went straight to the top right away. I mean, I do know people that are in the industry, and there is a lot of nepotism in there, but you can squeeze your way in, and you will. Everybody that wants to does. You just you have to outlast everybody else.
Right. You know, I figure, you know, most of us will get one good project and then,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
hope so.
I mean, you talked about at one point. I think I read one of the quotes you said was that David Dakota, and I'm probably saying his name wrong. Um,
Dakota,
Dakota, thank you.
David Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah, I read phonetically incorrect, but you
Yeah,
said
no, no, don't worry.
you said that you followed him back into mainstream,
Yeah.
and so do you feel like that was when you like were you at a point where you were doing like sort of B movies and stuff, and then became back into like tell us what does that mean to you?
Well, after Dr. Quinn, I was having a lot of trouble. Um, I've never talked about this before, but I had gotten let go of on the show for a number of circumstances that have nothing to do with me. So it's shocking when that happens. But there's politics involved. There's politics in every show, and they can't afford everybody. And they made a decision, and I was the one that left. But I think it did wound my spirit in such a way that it put me off acting for a while because I realized that there was inevitabilities beyond our control. And I felt a little bit like a puppet and I didn't enjoy any of those things. So I took a break from the industry and started directing and started, I was still creative. And went away and did a documentary that took 5 years of my life. Oh my God. You experiment, you do things, and then came back around about 10 years later and realized that I put everything in a better context and realized that, acting is the thing that I do the best. I I have something to offer acting. Um, I love directing, but it is a really hard road. And acting is just an easier road for me. So I came back to it. This is a long answer, but I came back to it. And of course, I'm not the first person to say that when you leave something, you think it's going to be there when you get back, but no, you got to climb that mountain again. So I did have to climb that mountain again. I didn't have an agent. All of my resume was, good 10 years old at that point, and um, Dr. Quinn had never been like the Melrose Place of hip shows. It was the show that your mother watched. So there were a lot of issues there, and I just wanted to be an actor, wanted to keep acting. So I just started looking at Actors Access and Backstage West like all the other actors, and just started submitting myself and grinding my way back up, and did a lot of non-union stuff because I was FICOR at the time. And uh, in one of those submissions, bumped into David Dakota. And David Dakota is wonderful because he always casts for movies that he could cast 20-year-olds in. He never does. He always casts more mature women. He always casts women that have had careers and maybe been forgotten. Um, he's just wonderful. He's the savior of the has-been women, if there's no better way to say it. You know, he's revived a lot of careers, and mine was one of them that he did. He's given me a lot of work over the years, and it's nice to work. I think, you know, I love working on indie films when people are discovering things and they're trying to make it work, and we're all sitting in the cabin and we're all, you know, whatever it is that we're doing, the camaraderie, the excitement, that sort of feels a lot like Bloody Valentine to me, and I love that part. But there's also a nice thing about walking onto a set that feels really real. Like, you know, the AD says, "Do you want some breakfast?" And you know, you get your little dressing room, and um, you know, you go through hair and makeup, and you get on set, and there's an AD that ushers you to, you know what I mean? It's a little more, and that's part of the magic of being on a set too. It's so exciting to be uh, on a set. So there's like this pendulum that swings. I do gritty little movies, and we all go sit in a bus. We grind it out. We're sleeping in the house. We're working the house. We're, you know, we're buying the groceries for the movie and for us. What can we both eat? You know, so it's all those wonderful things that you do. The AD is also the producer, is also the, you know, the head gaffer, and, you know, the grip when it's necessary. And you're also holding a light, and you know, I love that, but there's also the other side. So those are the two wonderful things. And David Dakota is definitely more, you know, would keep me feeling like the fires are still burning in the real world, you know, like, you know, if there is hope for getting on a real paid gig. Yeah. So he did that for me. Yeah.
That's
And
remarkable.
continues to do it. He's extremely prolific. He's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you said you actually kind of made me emotional, and I usually don't get emotional on the show, but when you're talking about like loving the indie set, but also the Hollywood feel, I like,
Yeah.
to me, like, right, like I like it when they cook food and they have time and they bring it to you, and all that, and you know, on an indie set, you're
No.
lucky to maybe get pizza, and you know,
Yeah.
but I love both, right, and I
Yeah.
just. Man, that just hit me right in the heart. You were talking about that. Like, I'm sorry, but
No, it's so fun to be on a movie set. There's nothing more fun in the world. There's nothing more fun in the world, you know, than being on a
right.
movie set. Well, I don't care what I'm doing. I could be ADing, I could be acting, I could be, you know, I just love the feel of a movie set. It's just, or a TV set. It's just people getting together to make something. It's just such a vibe, you know. You can't get that in the real world.
I don't know that can be explained to a non-actor, because when people
Yeah.
go, they go, "Thanks for being here, man. You know, we're sorry you're waiting around. We're sorry, you know, because you wait around a long time." And they go, "You know, we're
Yeah.
sorry it's taking a long time." You go, "No, man, I'm just happy to be here, dude." Like, you know,
I'm just
yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Exactly. I'm just like, this is so fun. Let's
I,
go till 4 in the morning, please.
oh yeah, yeah. Maybe not that, but you know, you were talking about that Star Trek.
Sometimes you're like, you know, whatever. I don't know. It's 3 in the morning, really. You know, you're just so involved in the process, you don't even notice. It reminds me of when I'm painting. If I'm painting something, I can, like, you'd have to tear me away from the painting because I'm just having fun, and I could be there for like, you know, 24 hours, you know, before I look up and go, oh my God, what time is it?
You know,
You know, it's like that. It's transporting.
I can make it on set that long if I'm not freezing, you know, which I'm
Oh yeah,
usually, you know, usually I'm
yeah,
shivering, and they're like, "Hey, it's a
yeah,
17-hour shoot." I'm like, "I'm gonna die before we get to the end of that."
yeah. You know what though? As what you know, and maybe this is just as I get older. I think it is a life thing. Like now, like if I'm on a set and I'm freezing, I'm like, wow, look at this. I'm on a set and I'm freezing. This
Right.
is an experience. You
I,
know what I mean? Like now I go, well, you know, I'm so much closer to death. I look at everything as experience. Wow, you know, everything is amazing. This is the hottest day in July. Amazing. You
right.
know?
You know what? I usually look at it like, "God, dude, I'm so old. I don't want to be out here freezing. I didn't grow this old to be out here doing this. I paid my dues." I'm usually like it the other way. I'm usually like, I'm old enough, I
Really?
don't
Oh
have to do
no.
this.
I bet you're going to change your mind now. The next time you'll be like, oh my God, this is an experience.
Right. You know what? It's too earlier too. You talked about developing new fears as you get older. Right.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I like to ask actors is there something, and you sort of explained it, even claustrophobia, but like to me, if they're like, okay, we got to go do a movie in the ocean, I'm out. Like,
Um,
like
yeah.
is there something you won't do like that? Like swim with the sharks or skydive or is one of those
Fire.
the fire,
Fire would scare me. Fire seems uncontrollable to me.
the
But
fire scenes?
here's the thing. I actually got I got a phobia from doing my own stunt in a movie, which was a falling stunt. Um, that I obviously did yes to. But when they got there, and I trained for this falling stunt, and I fell 20, I was supposed to fall 20 feet. That's what I trained for. But when we got there, they couldn't rig it at 20 feet. They could only rig it at 40 feet between these two buildings. And that's a very different thing. And, um, and I went ahead and I did the stunt anyway, and it produced I now have a fear. I now get vertigo.
Really?
My sister's got like one of those poles, those dance poles in her bedroom. She's taking the pole dancing class. It's a lovely thing. She said, "Yo, you're going to be so good at it. Go ahead, give it a spin." And she did a spin. She goes, Go ahead, try it." And I'm on the ground and I grabbed that pole and I spun around it and I thought I was going to barf because I just have I have this permanent vertigo now. So I don't know if that was an
Wow.
answer to your question, but yeah, you can get greater phobias. But the thing is, I will try something to the degree that I don't think it will kill me.
Sure.
If I think I'm putting my life in danger, I'm not going to do it. But
Right.
if so I weigh it that way, and I don't have a single broken bone, so I guess I've done well in some ways.
Now,
But but yeah,
but
I'd
let's
go
talk.
underwater for sure. I love
Oh,
water.
okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something though that I read that you do partner hand balancing.
Yes.
What is that? Because isn't that high? Isn't that like? Aren't,
Well, see, and there you go. It's funny that you mentioned that because I do partner hand balancing, but I was prevented, unfortunately, from really going far in it because I could do the hand balancing when my partner was lying on the ground and would have me up in his hands. Um, but I couldn't do it when he was standing. I had vertigo.
so you could okay.
So
So
it
you couldn't get
yes,
extreme with it. Right. Right.
I couldn't go to a standing hand balance. I could go to a lying hand balance. In other words, he'd be lying or sitting and he'd have me up over his head. There's a couple of uh somebody can lift me up over their head with my body, but to do a handstand, I couldn't do a handstand, which is ultimately what you want to be able to do in the air with a standing person. And all those hand balancers, they're all 6 foot. And then when they raise their arms, so it's like 8 feet off the ground and you're looking down. And unfortunately, I can't do that. Yeah.
Wow. But
Yeah.
you trained with members from Cirque du Soleil.
Yes. Well, there's a community here and everybody intermixes, and people will come and we all use the same practice room and people from Cirque du Soleil absolutely um, are always around. Yeah, it's a fantastic community of clowns. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you say here, you teach yoga?
No,
Or
thanks for asking, but I don't teach yoga. No, here in Los Angeles, there's a clown community. And I learned my hand balancing mostly at Jack and Jerry's gym, which is a gym of two wonderful acrobats and talented people, jugglers, all sorts of stuff. That's a family circus that they've got going there. And a lot of people know Jack and Jerry's gym and they'll all go train there. So, yeah.
your bio said you teach yoga on IMDb, just in case you might want to check that.
What?
But it says you got certified
Does
in
it? Somebody else must
1994.
have written that.
In
Huh?
1994, you became a certified yoga instructor. You didn't know that? That's on your IMDb. Anyway, moving on
Really?
then. Yeah, yeah,
I have to
yeah.
take that off. I mean, I think I could probably pass, but I don't, I know. I'm not
Okay,
either.
so maybe some
Well,
of my information is off. Okay,
somebody might have
so
added that on there or something. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Somebody else put my IMDb together, so I'll have to go check it out now.
Now
But yeah,
you mentioned it, and I wanted to talk to obviously I wanted to talk about the clown community. Now
yeah.
you fell in love with clowns. How did you become essentially you run for those who don't know you run a clown cabaret
Yeah.
and called it's I think it's German it's was is this was is
Was
this
ist das? Was ist das? Which is what is that? Yeah. What
okay
is that? Is the name of it. Yeah.
say it again
What is that
no
in English? And
va, va,
was ist das? Was ist das?
was is
Is
das
the
okay
German. Yeah.
okay got
Was
it
ist
okay
das?
and your clown group is called Mil Grus.
That is one clown group that I belong to called Milgrew. Yeah, we pre-pandemic we were clowning around. It's a special kind of a clown. It's a bouffon, which bouffon clowns are kind of grotesque, and in our case, they don't look very human. They sort of look like primordial goo. So
Gooey
they're very
clowns.
well. It kind of like think about Quasimodo from the story of the bell ringer of wherever.
Notre
So
Dame.
Notre Dame. Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Secret moment. Um, so that's so. I would say that that's the closest thing to the kinds of clowns we are. We're sort of court jesters. We're sort of
Okay.
medieval court jesters in the present day. Yeah, it was
And
really a fun. I loved doing that show, and I loved that kind of clown playing. It's really fun. Yeah.
tell us about the clown cabaret.
So the clown cabaret, it's so over the 10 years that I've been in this clown community, I've bumped into a lot of people. I'm grateful for that, and people are always trying out their bits and needing to hone them up in front of an audience, and so I originally created this clown cabaret just with the intention of giving people a space to come and do their 4 minutes and before an audience and see how it went. And it just sort of grew and grew and got a little more serious. And we got a little clown troupe together originally with a guy named Jason Poston and oh my God, Matthew. Oh gosh, terrible senior moments. Anyway, so a couple of my friends and we created a clown troupe that was sort of it all takes place in Gretel, which is my house in 1924, Berlin. And the premise is that, we invite all our friends in for a show and all our friends are doing the show. And so we sort of create this atmosphere. We all speak with a German accent and people would just come from far and wide and come and do their little 4-minute bits and it caught on. And then at a certain point in time, I thought, why am I doing it in a bar where they're constantly asking you to sell drinks to your friends and people aren't spending money? The pressure for us to make money for that bar was just so uncomfortable. I thought, I'm going to do it in my front yard. The whole atmosphere is in Gretel's house anyway, so why not bring it to Gretel's house? And lo and behold, that made it so popular because I just pop up sort of a tent in my front yard once a month and all the neighbors pile in. It's just like a real free-for-all. It's fantastic. And I've
Is
been
that
doing
something?
it for,
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
huh?
Is that something the public can come to?
Yeah, the public comes to it. You can just walk in. It's free. It's donate by donation. And people come once a month and put up signs and, we have regulars that come and, it's just been a really fantastic thing. But the thing is that it also requires so much of my time and attention because I am a one-man show. I put up the tent, I put out the posters, I do the promo, I collect the performers for the month, I babysit, I get props or whatever. So after 5 years of doing that, 2 of which I did all by myself, I just recently shut it down for a bit to give myself a breath and relax a little bit. I'll get back to it, but yeah, it's been ongoing for 5 years. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think of when people tell you, or do they tell you, when someone says clowns are scary, like, what is your opinion on that? I mean, do you go, well, some are like, I mean, like, what is your,
I think that the original clowns, unfortunately, can be scary. I mean, they weren't helped by the fact that there were serial killers among them. You know what I mean? That's pretty scary. And I can see how it could be, but uh, the clowns that I'm inspired by are kind of like the Cirque du Soleil clowns. Like they're the mimes and the poets and the storytellers and um, so
the non-serial killer clowns, you mean, right?
the non-serial killer clowns, of which there are plentiful. I think things are changing with clowns. The look of a clown is now meant to be more attractive. Before it was meant to be ridiculous, and now sort of it rides between the two. It should just be a clown should just look mysterious and otherworldly, and then you're a clown. You don't even need the red nose, but the red nose really helps.
What about those guys who stand out in the weird places and just wear a clown suit and don't say anything? What about them?
What about them?
Like, I mean,
What about them?
I mean, do you? I mean,
Those are scary. Those are pretty scary clowns. I would stay away from those guys. What are they up to?
So there's so there's a scary clown and there's a non-scary clown, is what you're saying.
I think that's true. I don't know any scary clowns, but yeah.
You don't.
But I'm sure there's. I don't associate with scary clowns, but I'm sure there's a few.
You don't.
Sure
You don't find yourself out there on the front line defending clown stereotypes.
No. To each his own. You're welcome to your opinion. But you know what? One of the directors that I adore, Jeff Schneider, I've done a couple movies with. Oh my God, I should always have my IMDb open. But Jeff Schneider, I work a lot for, and Jeff is actually an ex-carny. He was with a traveling circus for a number of years, and he's still great friends with all of the people in his touring circus. And at his house, he has like when you go to that pop-up circus, he's got like the merry-go-round and all sorts of wonderful things in his yard. And I just love walking through there. And it is funny. You do get a little tingle. You're like, ooh, this is spooky. Like, why is it spooky? I don't know. Run down, merry-go-rounds are a little spooky. I don't know what it is about that.
Decayed childhood is scary, right? Like
what kind of childhood?
Decayed, like broken and falling apart.
Decayed childhood is so right for like ghost stories and stuff. It just gets your mind a whirling. It's interesting though, isn't it? That's a thing.
Are ghosts real?
I think they are. I think they are. Yeah.
So you must have had an experience.
I have. I've had a few demonic experiences, actually.
Demons are real. Demons are real?
I think a certain kind of demon, we give it the name demon, but in my mind, it's a mass of really negative energy. I mean, people know when you'll go into a place, you'll get a feeling. I mean, how can you discount that, right? How can you discount that? There's got to be some realness to it. I don't know.
Energy's real for sure. So why wouldn't you sense that? Absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got I got a little distracted there. Let's
Why?
talk about, well, I started talking about ghosts and demons, but I want to talk about we're kind of running out of time, but I got a few more things I want to get to. You're in a lot of movies called The Wrong Something. And
that's David Dakota.
Okay, that cracked me up that it's the wrong real estate agent, the wrong cheerleading coach, the wrong stepfather. So
right.
Those are Lifetime movies, right?
Those are Lifetime movies that David Dakota produces, yeah.
So once again, shout out to my mom for watching the Lifetime movies, I'm sure.
Oh, did she watch all the Lifetime movies? You've seen me a lot over the years then.
I was in one, and my mother was like, Jason, were you, and I, of course, I have you don't see me in the film. It's my back, and it says FBI, and you don't see me. But my mother was like, oh, my friend saw you. And I'm like, no, Mom, she didn't see me. Uh, tell us tell us what you have coming up. What is on the horizon? Because you're still working, and I even saw you have Last American Horror Show coming out. Mike Ferguson.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
so tell us what you got going on.
Uh, it's actually, I just finished a movie for Netflix called Disco Inferno, and it's part of a genre trilogy. Netflix supported three diverse directors in genre form, so it's going to be part of a trilogy of genre films. Really excited about that. Beautifully written, incredibly shot, and wonderfully directed, and just was really, really fun. And my character is was really challenging, and I really enjoyed it. And, there's nothing like working with a great script. Like, you just feel like everything's so much easier when this script is well written. You just have to show up, you know what I mean, and say the words. And it was like that. I love that. And I'm going to do in June, I'm off to do the Tin Roof movie with Rebecca Reinhardt and Rob Mello. I've got a part in that, and that's going to be so fun because we're going to be camping at a campground. Where it's it's set at a campground. Like when you go as a child, you go to camp. So it's set at one of those kind of campgrounds. And as a child, I never went to camp. All my friends went to camp and I stayed home. So it's like my first camping experience. I'll be a camper at last, never too late to be a camper. So
It
I'm really looking forward to
it's
that.
it's
It's going to be
never
so
too it's never too late to hate new things. I promise you.
fun.
so
Did
so
you hate camp? Did you go to camp?
Oh no, I didn't go to. I mean, I went to a camp, but I didn't sleep there. It was local, but
Yeah,
camping
like
is the
local
most.
day camps were awful, weren't they, though?
Oh no, I could go home and take a shower. It's the overnight camping that's horrid.
You think so? Oh.
Oh no, I'm a dude who needs to be clean. Yeah, those.
Oh.
But go on. I interrupted you anyway. Please. So the
No,
camping
I
thing that
can't remember
sounds.
what I was saying.
No,
There's
you were
nothing
talking.
important.
No, it was. It is. What you got going up? So shooting Tin Roof. You're
Okay.
camping. Yeah, and then
Right.
right.
And then and you know what? And I have to actually look to see. Oh, there's a movie that's coming out at San Francisco Film Festival. Really talented Israeli director Lior Shamraz, and he just emailed me about it, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but we're appearing at the San Francisco Film Festival between June 16 and June 26. So that's coming out, and
And
I
you're
think
going to be there.
that's not a horror movie. It's an art movie. It's a very interesting art movie with a very interesting director. So I'm very excited about that.
And you're going to be there
And
personally.
yeah, I'm going to be there personally on June 16th because then I go to do the Tin Roof movie. But I'm free in May if anybody wants.
Right, because I'm thinking about getting
I
you to
don't
sign
know
board
in
games.
May.
Right. Okay, so
Let's shoot
okay,
a quick movie. We got like 3 weeks. We could do it.
right. So okay, so then the San Francisco Film Festival, which is awesome. That's where I'm from, San Francisco. Obviously, I live in
Oh, okay.
LA now, but I'm from San Francisco. It's where I got my start. So shout out to SF. But anyway, so what about after that on June 16th? Then you said you're free in May.
Free in May and free after June. July. Get me some July work. No, I don't
There
know.
you go. But cons, man, cons are ramping up in the summer. Conventions, they got to
That's
have
what they say.
you.
I have two. I have two. I've so many people that have said that they were going to get me out, and frankly, I'm sure they've tried because if they could make money on me, they would have done it. But what's it saying? Leave the broadcast. No, I don't want to. Do you want to stop on level? No, I don't.
Oh
Okay, I
no,
don't know.
yeah. After an hour,
Some,
right? That's why we use the show's an hour,
oh,
but
okay,
I went
okay,
over a little bit because I
okay,
had to ask you a couple more questions.
okay, yeah. But
Personally,
anyway, I can't remember what we were saying. But no, cons, maybe cons will come.
right?
Yes.
I hope so because I love the con idea. I love the con circuit. I think it's great to be out there and
Do you do it?
No, I
Do
don't.
you do?
No, I go to it. I
Oh,
haven't been lucky enough to do it. I'm not that
okay.
guy yet. uh, but tell the people where they can find you if they want to book you, or where can the people get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, find me on Facebook. That's the easiest place, or Instagram. You can always message me on either of those. I guess Instagram is the easiest because they don't like Facebook. It kind of goes into another folder unless you're friends with me. Um, but yeah, that's the best place. It's the only place I really keep things up. I do have a website for if you want to hire our clowns for your child's birthday party. We'll come and do a bubble show for you. Then that's createakidsparty.com, just as it sounds, createakidsparty.com. And then my website, heleneudy.org or something. I don't even know what it is. Don't bother. But no, keep up with me on IMDb too. I think when people click on your name on IMDb to see what's up, it's usually very up to date. And then you can click and see what else is going on and who else is in the project and all of that stuff. So do that. And when people do click on your IMDb, as you well know, it's very helpful to you. Right?
Indeed.
It's a great way to support the actors that you like, is go and click on their IMDb once a week.
Right, all the time, from
All the
different
time,
computers.
just click away on different computers.
And don't forget to share it on your page as well. Right.
Right. And the reason I know is because on my birthday, I'm in the top 1,000. On my birthday, people go click on my IMDb or they click about me or whatever. I don't know what happens, but suddenly, like if only there was somebody to fund a movie that day, I'd be able to get it funded.
Right, on that day, you're hot, right? Let me ask you a
That day, I'm
question.
super hot.
Before I let you go, your birthday, you mentioned that. I read on your
Yeah.
IMDb that you share a birthday with Anthony Kiedis. Is that true?
Oh, I think he is a Scorpio. Yeah, I think I do. I share a birthday with Anthony Kiedis, and also I'm one day older than Meg Ryan.
Really?
Yeah,
And
Meg Ryan's born November 2nd, I think.
okay, so you're
Yeah,
born November 1st, right?
yeah, I'm born November 1st. Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know who else's birthday is November 1st?
Ooh.
Betsy Palmer, who was Jason's mother in Friday 13th.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and I'm born on November 1st.
No kidding.
It's my birthday too.
Oh,
So there you go.
you honest man, you
I,
wonderful person. I love Scorpios.
thank you. Yeah, All Saints Day, by the way, so it's got to be a good thing.
What did you say?
It's November 1st is All Saints Day.
Exactly. It's All Saints Day. Yeah.
So
I was almost born on Halloween, though.
right.
I'm not sure. I hover between the two.
Yeah, I always wish it was, that one day earlier, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, All Saints Day is a wonderful day.
what, any
Also
last
in Los
words?
Angeles, it's Dia de los Muertos, so it's always a wonderful day for your birthday to go down to Olvera Street and see all the beautiful, displays for Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I haven't lived here. I haven't had a birthday here yet. I've only been in LA for like
Oh.
9 months. So,
Oh,
right, I'm new.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, any words for aspiring actors? Somebody who, what any kind of last thing you'd like to tell the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to encourage people because, uh, you're in this job. If you really are determined to be an actor and you have a good reason for it, you have a passion for it, for whatever your passion may be, listen to your passion. Don't listen to naysayers. Don't listen to bad teachers. If you're in a class and a teacher's making you feel like you can't act, get out of the class. Do not listen to the teacher. They are not know-it-alls. They know nothing. They are humans with problems just like you, and you may look like their mother. You know what I mean? So do not listen to anybody but yourself. I mean, acting is a thing that you express from your soul. So if you have a need to soul express, then you just do it because you do it. That's the thing. That's what got me back into acting after leaving it, is I started from the bottom. But for me, it was like, well, I'm not going to not act. So if I have to go and act in some little play somewhere down the road to have a space to perform and commune with audiences, that's what I'm going to do, So there's no small place or big place for an actor. You don't have to. I think aspiring to being famous can really get in the way of a person doing becoming famous.
Oh,
Right.
right.
So
Oh, definitely. I love that you said that because yeah, if you want to be famous, you can go do something dumb on TikTok. If you want to be
that's
an
right.
actor, this is
That's
hard.
right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Like, don't, hopefully you're not, your dreams about being an actor have to do with the work itself and what it provides for you and the people that you it can inspire in whatever way. I don't want to get too deep on my reasons, but I have many deep reasons. The deeper your reasons for acting, the more likely you are to stick with it. So find a deep reason. I just listened to a wonderful thing from a clown, Stephen Haves, who just got off directing a Cirque du Soleil show. And I've known Stefan for a very, very long time. I knew him well before he was a famous clown. He's actually called Backman, and people in the clown community know who Stefan is. But he sort of started his thing with what was his passion, what drew him to clowning, and he just described this whole little thing about being in Paris and being on the street and seeing this clown connecting with people in this kinetic way, and the joyful experience of the laughter filling this space, and suddenly everybody was united in this beautiful laughter, and it just filled his soul and it caught him, and that's been his driving force ever since. If you have something like that to guide you in your art, then you should never listen to the naysayers because they don't know what's in your heart. You
That
just follow your heart.
I I can't do that. That's it. That's the best thing I've heard. We got to we should end on that because it's so
All
great.
right.
I
All
love
right.
it. It has truly been my honor, my pleasure to get to talk to you today. I'm so excited. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank Warren Madden. Folks, I want to thank you guys for watching for a year. We've been doing this for a
Thanks,
year now.
Warren.
Yeah,
Keep watching, folks.
thank you. Folks, keep watching. We're going to see you next week. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right.
Pleasure.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everybody.